Today, a teenager might scroll through a phone while sitting by a river. In 1900, one American boy stood by a river for a very different reason, because the fish he caught there helped feed 8 hungry mouths at home. In the spring of 1900, along the wide banks of the Mississippi River near a small town in Missouri, 13-year-old Samuel Carter stood barefoot in the cool mud at sunrise. The river was calm that morning, its surface glowing gold under the early light. Samuel held a simple fishing pole made from a long hickory branch and a thin line he had tied himself the night before. For Samuel, fishing was not a hobby, it was survival. Samuel lived in a small wooden house with his parents and 6 younger siblings. 8 people in one cramped home meant every meal mattered. His father, William Carter, had once worked as a laborer on riverboats that carried grain and lumber down the Mississippi, but an injury to his leg during a loading accident had left him unable to work long hours. That changed everything. At the turn of the 20th century, America was growing quickly. Railroads stretched across the country, factories filled cities with smoke, and millions of immigrants arrived seeking opportunity. Yet in many small towns and rural areas, families still lived close to the land and the river. The Mississippi River was more than water. It was a highway, a marketplace, and a source of life. Samuel had started fishing when he was only 9 years old. At first, it was something he did with his father on quiet afternoons, but after his father's injury, the fishing trips became serious work. By 13, Samuel woke before dawn almost every day. He would carry a small wooden crate and walk a mile down a dirt path to the riverbank. The early hours were the best time to catch catfish and perch, which were common in the river during that era. Fishing technology in 1900 was simple compared to modern equipment. Samuel used basic hooks, homemade bait, and patience. Sometimes he waited an hour for a single bite, but when the fish came, they meant dinner. On good mornings, he could catch 10 or 12 fish. On slow days, he caught only 3 or 4. Either way, he carefully placed them in the crate and carried them into town. The town market was small but busy. Farmers brought eggs, vegetables, and milk, but fresh fish from the river was always in demand. Refrigeration was rare in small towns at that time, so food had to be fresh. Samuel would stand near the corner of the market street, calling out quietly, "Fresh river fish, caught this morning." Many townspeople knew him. Some bought fish because they needed food. Others bought it because they knew the Carter family struggled. A large catfish might sell for 5 cents. Smaller fish sold for 2 or 3 cents each. On a very good day, Samuel could earn 30 cents. 30 cents may sound small today, but in 1900, it could buy flour, potatoes, or a loaf of bread for the entire family. Samuel always carried the coins carefully wrapped in cloth. His mother, Margaret Carter, managed every penny. She stretched meals with cornbread and vegetables from a small garden behind their house. The family rarely wasted anything. Despite the hardship, Samuel dreamed of something bigger. The small town had a general store that sold tools, lanterns, boots, and farming supplies. Samuel often stopped by there after selling fish. He liked watching the store owner manage the shelves and customers. The man who ran the store, Mr. Henry Lawson, noticed the boy's curiosity. One afternoon in 1902, after Samuel sold his fish nearby, Mr. Lawson called him over. "You work harder than most men I know," he said. "Ever thought about working in a shop instead of standing in the river?" Samuel hesitated. He still needed to fish to help his family. But Mr. Lawson had another idea. He offered Samuel a small job in the evenings, sweeping floors, organizing crates, and helping carry supplies. The pay was only 10 cents a day, but Samuel accepted immediately. For the next several years, Samuel balanced both worlds. At sunrise, he stood in the river catching fish. By evening, he worked in the store, learning how business worked. America in the early 1900s was entering a new economic age. Industrialization and commerce were expanding rapidly, even reaching small towns. Stores became centers of community life. Samuel watched everything carefully. He learned how to track inventory, greet customers, and calculate prices. He studied which goods sold quickly and which stayed on the shelves.
By 1907, when Samuel was 20, Mr. Lawson made a surprising decision. He offered Samuel a partnership in the store. Many people in town were shocked. Samuel had once been the barefoot boy selling fish outside the market. But Mr. Lawson believed something others had not noticed. Samuel had a sharp mind and an honest work ethic. Together, they expanded the business. They added fishing gear, farming tools, and canned foods that were becoming more common as food preservation improved. Samuel's understanding of the river community helped attract customers. Fishermen trusted him. Farmers trusted him. Travelers stopped by his store when passing through town. Within a decade, the small shop became one of the busiest stores in the region. Samuel eventually married and helped his younger siblings attend school. The Carter family slowly rose out of poverty. But Samuel never forgot where everything began. Even years later, he sometimes walked to the riverbank at sunrise. The Mississippi still moved slowly under the morning light, just as it had when he was a boy standing barefoot in the mud. The river had once been his workplace, his teacher, and his lifeline. By the 1920s, America had entered a new era of prosperity and modern technology. Automobiles replaced horses, electric lights reached more towns, and businesses grew larger. Samuel Carter was no longer the boy selling fish. He was now the respected owner of one of the largest supply stores in the region. Yet he kept one small reminder in his office, an old wooden fishing pole made from hickory. Customers sometimes asked why he kept such a simple object. Samuel would smile and say quietly, "That stick fed 8 people once." Today, people may stand beside rivers for relaxation or photographs, but in 1900, for one determined boy in Missouri, a river meant something far greater. It meant responsibility, it meant family, and it proved that sometimes the journey from poverty to success begins with something as simple as a fishing line and the courage to wake up before the sun.